Representative, welcome back to the program here. House Bill 2618, it calls on many state agencies to create a severe weather plan to look at the changing climate. I know that phrase is kind of tarnished from a lot of people, but what is not being done that you want the state to do?
Well, let me set the stage for you, Jason. The state climatologist at Texas A&M, very conservative institution, projects that we will experience more frequent and intense extreme weather events, including hotter temperatures, increased drought and severity, and more intense hurricanes and flooding over the next decade. Whether you think that these changes in severe weather are man-made or not, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't pass the eye test for most Texans. So what we're trying to tell the state agencies is to have a severe weather mitigation and adaptation plan in place to deal with two really important things. Number one is the human toll. And between 1980 and 2023, more than 7,000 Texans lost their lives due to severe weather. And you'd think that that was the hurricanes or the tornadoes, but really that was droughts and heat wave responsible for more than 50% of those deaths. Then there's the economic toll, which we're seeing on a regular basis in our insurance rates that continue to rise in this state. People are, my constituents at least, and I think people around the state are really concerned about the rising insurance rates. Well, Texas leads the nation in billion-dollar severe weather disasters. So there have been 190 between 1980 and 2024. And in 2024 alone, so last year alone, there were 20 of those events, causing more than $1 billion in disasters. And in the legislature, we think about it, and I've been in the legislature for 20 years. Usually the agenda of the legislature is set by these natural disasters. This year, we're dealing with the fallout from the Smokehouse Creek fire, right? 5 years ago, we didn't know that we needed a fleet of 5 planes to put out mega fires in the state of Texas. We know that now. Wouldn't it have been great if our state agencies were planning ahead for that? We didn't know that we were going to have the severe weather from Hurricane Ike or Hurricane Harvey or Tropical Storm Imelda. And you can go on and on and on. The derecho of 2024 and those high winds, Hurricane Beryl. They set the stage for our legislative session reactively. What I'm asking the 15 most important state agencies to do is be proactive and sort of take that Scouts motto, be prepared. And we want them to present these plans every 2 years, ensuring that we have a forward-thinking strategy to assess our vulnerabilities, protect critical systems, minimize financial loss, and importantly, stand up the agencies once again after the disaster so that it can be responsive to the people of Texas.
There's no cost to taxpayers on this. So why was this left in committee? It seems pretty benign.
Yeah, it is just a byproduct of us taking stakeholder input, coming up with a committee substitute, and bringing it back to committee. So there's no problem with the bill. I think it'll get passed out of committee and get passed out of the House floor. It's just a matter of us working with the different state agencies on the language of the bill, so it's going to work. Because when you're dealing with 15 state agencies, well, that's a lot of jurisdiction.
Yeah, a lot of jurisdiction, indeed. There. What's next for this bill, though, specifically? I mean, is it the clock's ticking on the legislature?
Yeah. Next week, we've got a big week in the legislature with the budget. We will be meeting in state affairs on Monday. Hope to get this thing passed out either at the committee meeting or in a formal meeting before the budget gets taken up on Thursday, next Thursday, that is.
Right.
And then it'll go to the calendars committee and then come to the House floor for a vote.
Is there any support in the Senate at all for this?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a companion in the Senate carried by Nathan Johnson of Dallas.
Let's talk about an issue that we focused on a lot here in Dallas, and that is how easy it is to steal someone's property by going down to the county clerk's office and filing a few papers. This is deed fraud that we've talked about here. People don't realize how easy it is. You have legislation again this session to stop this, but this is the same as essentially what you tried to get passed 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, and we passed it out of the House successfully. Ultimately, it ran out of time in the legislative session. Just another reminder that the legislative process isn't a bill passing machine. It's oftentimes a bill killing machine, just with the schedules that we have. look, people are losing their homes due to deed fraud, fraudulent deeds. And the number one reason why that occurs is in the notary process. Oftentimes, you either have fraudulent notarizations, or you have notaries that are duped or are just not being thorough enough. So what we've set up in our bill, in conjunction with district attorneys from around the state, including John Crusoe here in Dallas County, is a system where we're going to be providing more penalties for folks who are notaries and are complicit. We are setting up more training for notaries so that they can identify fake documents, they can identify fake IDs, and understand the newest scams in the marketplace. And then finally, we're going to make sure that these notaries are providing keeping better records so that people ultimately don't fall susceptible to these scams, either knowingly or unwittingly, and cost people their homes. Because you know how this happens. Little old lady suddenly looks out of her window and sees a construction crew on her property, and she says, "Hey, what are y'all doing?" And then somebody shows up with the deed and says, "No, well, we bought this from somebody." And then it's a big problem to unwind that process.
It's amazing that can be done. Let's Representative, let's talk about school vouchers for a moment. Speaker Burrows says there's more than enough votes to get school vouchers passed in the House. The House, as you know, has always been a roadblock for vouchers in previous sessions. What should we expect from Democrats as this debate unfolds?
Well, Democrats all along the way have been helping set the tone statewide on this voucher scam that we see from Governor Abbott. We're going to be fighting back hard on this. Just as there may be more than 75 votes to pass a bill in the House, and I believe the Speaker of the House is probably right about that. There are also more than 75 votes to add amendments to this particular piece of legislation. And if a voucher bill is going to pass, Democrats are going to play a big role in making sure that there's transparency and accountability on these public funds that are going to subsidize private entities.
And it seems like accountability is the thing that Democrats are really demanding. If a private school is going to get public money, they have to show they're spending it wisely and these students actually learning.
And that we have the controls in place to account for that money over the long term. Finally, we need to know if on an apples to apples basis, the private schools that are receiving the money are producing better educational outcomes, because that's really what this is about.
There's a new head of the Texas Democratic Party. Thoughts on the future of the party, which, you know, a lot of people say has been beleaguered for years?
Well, look, if the head of the Democratic Party is successful, I think it'll be good for the state. Ultimately, Democrats, we need to be better, stronger, faster in this state and more competitive. So I'm hopeful that the new leadership will lead to those results.
Representative Anchía, good to see you again. We appreciate the time.
Thanks so much, Jason.